at the end of the day, Australian voters, they respect courage.
One nation has greater potential to take on the left and the establishment. There's a member of our family now who we will never meet. When South Australia legislated abortion up to birth, that was my moment. For the Christians who are watching this, you cannot be a person of faith and vote Labor. You just cannot do that. Labor and the Greens have to be last. We're on our side and we're saying a boy can't be a girl, or that a baby in the womb is a human being and they should have human rights. You can't say those things.
Yeah. If I want to criticise Connie, the fake Orthodox Christian, I'm not allowed to do that. You put me in jail for that?
In our education system, boys are accessing girls' bathrooms and they're accessing girls' sports. So
I will be financially dependent forever, and I will always fight for the people. And I feel like you've done the same thing. Like, you're willing to put everything on the line. All right, guys, another exciting episode. I'm joined with Dr Joanna Howe, the one and only Joanna Howe. You may know her from all the amazing stuff she does around abortion, advocacy. She does a lot of stuff with a lot of close communities here in South Australia, across Australia. She's been everywhere now, and she's taking the world by storm. She's a professor you love to hate, but gotta admit, she says all the right things. So, Joanna Howe, welcome.
Thanks, George. I wondered where you were going there with
that. I was just kind of rambling. I was like, I'll try to be,
Kind of made me sound more exciting than I really am.
I know. It's good, eh? I got to practice. So.
You got to hook people in. They're going to watch the rest of the show.
I was going to say, we're matching outfits today. Look at the black on black. Going full Orthodox here. Not sure if there's like Joanna's trying to hint at something here. She's got orthodoxy here.
I don't normally wear them.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's happening. But no, it's good to have you here. Obviously, we have the election coming up, so I've been chatting to you, saying, hey, Joanna, come on, we want to talk about the election. I guess giving an opportunity to just kind of say your piece about what you think coming up. So, yeah, but before we do that, how are you going? I mean, I obviously heard the news, which is, horrifying to hear, but, you're a very strong person. You've got a very powerful, strong family, so I'm sure you get through this with absolute power, and there's always a purpose behind everything God does, so I just hope you know that. And, God gives his toughest challenges to his toughest warriors. So, but the community is thinking of you. And
no, I'm really grateful for everybody's support. I still haven't had confirmation that I've definitely lost the baby.
Okay.
But I did a blood test just before I came here. And so I guess we'll find out later today.
Okay.
I think in my heart that I have, because I guess I've been pregnant 5 other times and I've known what that's like. And then this is now really different to have bled so much and things, and to get the contractions last night. So it is a bit of a hard time, but if I was my friend, I would have told me to cancel this interview today and not to do it. But I think I just thought, well, all the kids are at school and James is at work and I'm just going to be at home feeling really sad.
Yeah.
This gave me an excuse to have a shower and straighten my hair and put on some makeup. And it sort of is nice to see your friends as well. And I think I probably do have workaholic tendencies. And if I was my friend, I would have said, stay home, don't do the podcast. But I guess I just thought,
I'm a bad friend, guys. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm a bad friend.
No, I didn't expect you to say that to me. In fact, I think you left me a voicemail saying you can cancel if you want. But
no, I don't know if I did. I'm pretty. I was actually happy you're here, because if I can make you laugh a little bit,
Well, it's nice to take my mind off it, because it is really sad. It feels like. Well, it is. It doesn't just feel like, it is like there's a member of our family now who we will never meet. And, we've got our 5 kids. They're all really different. Neither one of them is the same. And so now there's this one little baby who would have been in our lives but isn't. And we'll meet them one day in heaven, but we're not meeting them here on earth. And our family will always have that gap.
Yeah. Well, I just think in terms of that, I like to consider myself a bit of a Christian mystic here. And I know the Orthodox Church doesn't want to hear it. But I like to think that this child, regardless of the results today, is here on a spiritual sense. So maybe they're not here physically, and they're not here consciously. You can speak to them from body to body in a physical sense. Yeah. But your kid's here. It's a spirit. You created life. The spark begins as soon as the egg hits the sperm. It's not like so the life is there.
Yeah.
And if that life had to come here to be more of a spiritual guide for you as a holy spiritual thing, then so be it. That's just what it is. And you know what? Maybe it's exactly what your family needed. Maybe it's the most powerful thing that could have happened. So I try and be positive about it. And I just think no matter what, you create life, and life is here, and life is here to serve and be with the family. And your kids and you, if you pray deep enough, you can connect to that. I'm not sure what the church says about that, but you can connect to your child anytime you want on a spiritual sense.
Well, I think as Catholics, we believe that a child that's been aborted or a child that's died tragically through a miscarriage, they will go straight to heaven, right? Because they don't have any sin. And so they're actually in heaven. And as Christians, we can ask people in heaven to pray for us, just as we can ask someone here on earth. So there's lots of people praying for our family right now, and I'm really grateful for that. But just even our family now, we've named this baby Sammy.
Okay,
and
cool.
I guess that we have a baby in heaven who will pray for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so it is hard. It feels like it's really sad for us to kind of process it all. And the kids have been crying a lot.
Yeah.
And James hasn't really talked to me much about it. I think he's just being a man.
He needs to process it,
Yeah.
We all deal with it in our own way, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't know that this would happen. I've never had a miscarriage.
Okay.
It has given me an insight into abortion a little bit, actually, because a lot of abortions happen at the 6 to 8 week mark.
Yep.
And people say, oh, well, it's nothing. But this has really shown me, like even like Vogue magazine said of taking the abortion pills, just like having a light period. It's not.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm experiencing, what's happening with my baby and coming out of my body through a bleed, like you're bleeding a lot. You're experiencing contractions as your baby comes out. You're being confronted with blood clots. And at this point, I haven't been confronted with my baby yet, but that is what you see. Like if you're 6 to 8 weeks pregnant, you'll see a fairly big one.
Yeah.
It's not like a period, and they really undersell it. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is what so many women go through. It's 1 in 4 that have abortions. This is what they're experiencing. First of all, it's definitely not healthcare, because this is actually just not a natural bodily process. Like, you're not restoring health to this woman. But it's also really traumatic.
Yeah, well, yeah. It'd be traumatic in a physical sense, the visual aspect of it all, and then also in a spiritual sense, dealing with that. Even if you aren't spiritual, or if you're an atheist, it's still I think everyone has a soul and spirit. Your soul and spirit still witnesses the thing. Yeah. So it still has an effect, even if you don't want to acknowledge it or not.
Yeah. And because of microchimerism, I know you probably want to move on, but I just want to say, because of that process of microchimerism, I will always have this baby's cells in my body.
Yeah, okay.
For the rest of my life.
That's
Just
cool.
like I have my other 5 babies who are born, their cells are in my body. Any woman that's had an abortion, her child's cells are in her body for the rest of her life.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Well, okay, that's cool. So there you go. On a physical sense, and yes, on a spiritual sense, babies in heaven. And in heaven, I believe there's different avenues as you can pray to anyone you want in heaven. Heaven's not like a place where that's it. It's actually what we all want to go to in a sense. So, I mean, it's actually kind of a win in a weird way.
Yeah.
In like a weird way, you're straight to heaven. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Not many people get that.
Mm.
So God bless. And I wish you and the family all the very best with that. And as I said, I invite you to look at it as a opportunity to be with your child forever in like a different way that you never thought of maybe before. So it's a challenge. I wanted to get you here to talk about the state election. Quite clearly, you're going to have your own desires. Mm-hmm. You're seeing all these parties. From the conversations you've had, obviously, I'm sure you're engaged with a lot of the parties. What parties have you felt connect with you the most in what you're passionate about so far?
Well, I think the biggest risk for the state is that Labor will have a majority in both houses of Parliament, because then Peter Malinauskas can just be a dictator.
Yeah.
And
the emperor.
A lot of people might like Peter.
Yeah.
But he is a creature of the party that makes him the leader of that party.
Yeah.
And Labor left dominates the Labor Party.
Yeah.
It didn't used to be that way. Like, it used to be that Labor right was the dominant faction, and you had people like Tom Koutson-Tonis in charge, and Don Farrell. It was a different party. People like Andrea Michaels were in that party. But it really has changed to the point that it's people like Kayem Ma that really pull the Premier's strings.
Yeah.
And I used to, like, as an immigrant myself, as someone who grew up Catholic, I think a lot of immigrants, a lot of Catholics vote Labor. That's what my family always did, And my first jobs were with the trade union movement, working for Bill Shorten in Victoria at the AWU. I only ever voted Labor. And what is so extraordinary now is that Labor's no longer the party of the immigrant or working people. You can see that really clearly when he was asked a few weeks ago, and Peter Malinauskas said, "Oh, well, we need the immigrants to wipe the bums."
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
What an elitist attitude, right?
It just shows he just said the quiet part aloud. What he really thinks is immigrants, that they're slaves, that they're here to do the dirty work. Kids will work at the submarines, and your immigrant kids are going to work in the dirt, essentially. You know?
It shows an elitism that the Labor Party tries to hide, right? They try to pretend that they're the party of the ordinary person. They're just not. They are the party of big corporates.
Yep.
They're the party of big agendas.
Yeah, global agendas.
Yeah, global agendas. So, the money that they are probably getting from the pharmaceutical companies, right? To push certain agendas is really clear. So they don't stand, I think when I was at uni, back, I'm going to date myself, but back in the early 2000s, going back 26 years.
That's not that long ago, actually. Quite young, that's cool.
Thanks, George. But being on the left, you thought, oh, well, I'm on the side that's anti-establishment. Now the left is the establishment. Peter Malinauskas and the Labor Party are the establishment.
Yeah.
And you look at the fact that someone like Andrea Michaels, who was a good woman in Labor, she's no longer contesting. Claire Scriven in the upper house, they've dumped her to number 5 on that ticket. That shows you that Kyan Ma is in charge of that party. And he's a radical leftist, who wants to make prostitution legal and to proliferate. He wants abortion up to birth. He's pushed back on any kind of efforts to not kill babies that are full term.
Yeah.
So these are like deeply evil agendas.
Yeah.
That harm people. So there's a lot at stake at this election, but what my greatest fear is that Labor will have control of both houses. So I really want people to think carefully about their vote, particularly in the Legislative Council. So that's the big piece of paper that people are going to get. I want people to, Labor and the Greens have to be last, but we also have to get our preferencing correct.
Yeah.
And
that's our job at Turning Point. Hopefully we're going to give out to you guys soon how to vote cards, which we've designed in a particular way to make sure this doesn't happen. So that's going to be quite vital in this election because, the Legislative Council will become the final stronghold of, a civilised society, essentially.
Recently I was following a by-election in Queensland, and it was a seat that the KAP, the Katter Australia Party, had held. And there was a by-election because their candidate had become the local mayor. One Nation ran a candidate, so did the Liberals, so did Labor and the Greens, so did KAP. Now, because the vote between One Nation and KAP split and people didn't preference properly, the Liberals won in that seat. And it would have been much better to go to a minor party like One Nation or KAP because already David Crisafulli acts like a dictator in Queensland. Like the Liberals are, they're really Labor light in many ways, but in particular my beef with David is he's banned the topic from abortion from being discussed or legislated in over the next 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So he really is acting like an emperor to have done that, and that's a conservative, so-called conservative party, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the numbers, if KAP and One Nation, if their preferences had flown, or if one of them had decided not to run, one of them would have won the seat.
Yeah.
But that's not how it's operating. We've just got so many parties on the right, and they're sort of eating each other alive. And unless people realise that they have to preference properly, these votes are getting lost. Okay,
well, that makes it even more important that, guys, when we do release these Turning Point out of vote cards, definitely pay attention, especially now we have One Nation who aren't going to preference anyone. This would be important that you definitely do the preferencing correctly, because if it flows in the wrong direction, you could be left with a scenario where we have no safeguards in place. Yeah, so for example, a vote for Connie Benares is effectively a vote for Labor. Yeah. A vote for Tammy Franks in the Legislative Council is effectively a vote for Labor. They're both going to vote with Labor on these really important issues. Yeah. Connie parades herself as a Greek Orthodox, but really she's for abortion up to birth without any restriction. She's been one of the worst members of the Legislative Council. Yeah, it's a disgrace to the Greek Orthodox community. Yeah, she pretends to be she's like the Premier. Yeah. She the Premier says he's Catholic, but then when he votes and the policies put through the most anti-Catholic ideas ever. Sammy Connie, she says she's from the Orthodox community, but she's the most anti-Orthodox thing ever. And I hear from the Greek community, but Greece legalized LGBTQ. And it pissed off all the Orthodox Church. We were not happy. We were the first Orthodox country in the world to legalize LGBTQ marriages last year. It was a disaster. The churches are not happy about that. Do you think the monks in Mount Athos are happy about it? Do you think the Orthodox community are happy about it? No, we're disgusted by it. But unfortunately in Greece, these global agendas have gone through into Parliament.
So one of the things that's really concerning for me here as a mum is that in our education system, boys are accessing girls' bathrooms and they're accessing girls' sports. So at a local school near me, the local Catholic school actually, I've interviewed a mum and her daughter who, and there's multiple parents actually at the school who are really concerned. But this biological boy who's identifying as a girl is winning the races and representing that school in the state championships.
Yeah.
The girls are being told to use the disabled bathrooms, even though they're not disabled. So what's at stake here is the truth. Like this is a really significant election, and we're not going to win in the lower house. There's no way the Liberals are going to win. One Nation's not going to win there either. So we're going to have a Premier, Peter Malinauskas, that's for certain. But the only way we can start to get change and to make sure that things don't get even worse, because this is trans agenda that's in the universities and in the education system, that's coming from Labor and the Greens. And, that is a really pernicious agenda. It's only going to get worse and worse unless the Conservatives have the balance of power in the upper house. And so I haven't done the numbers properly, but what I'm thinking is we need to get at least 6 Conservatives up to in order to stop Peter Malinauskas and the left from doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
And Peter might say, the 3 things that guide me are faith, family and footy. But I don't buy that for a second.
No.
Faith does not guide him. And I don't want to speak about footy and family, but what we can see, what guides him, it's power. It's power 100%. It's this ambition to be Prime Minister.
Yeah, and it's the global agenda. Like you saw how proud he was about the under-16s bill, how he was parading, of course, this worldwide thing. It's like, okay, so that's what you care about. You care about being seen as this global leader with these World Economic Forums type stuff that I said to people, I was in the Global Shapers. I saw disinformation bills we try to push through, all this stuff that I was fighting internally, and it's disgusting. I managed to hold it back for a few years, but it was quite clear that we didn't have a real integral voice that was true to the people of South Australia, like Australia first. It was, what global agenda can we push through? What way can we make this thing into this control mechanism against the common people? Same with the Premier. He might think he's a Catholic, but in reality, he's not serving the Catholic Church. He's serving the global organisational institution, whatever that looks like, whatever you want to call it.
Look, to be Catholic has to mean something.
It's not a costume.
No.
It's not a badge.
Yeah, it's that you subscribe and are faithful to the teachings of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
So to be a legislator that supports abortion up to birth and to not have used his power to protect little babies who are 23 weeks and older from being injected with poison into the hearts. And both times that we've introduced pro-life bills, one with Ben Horn, one with Sarah Game, Peter Malinauskas had the power to influence that vote in the upper house, and everything we were told was that he used that power to stop those bills. Because do you know, when he got elected, he told his ministers, he said, no one in this party is allowed to bring a private member's bill on a social issue.
Yeah.
He gagged his party from doing that. Labor is very disciplined. They supported him to do that. And what that effectively meant was it just consigned babies to being killed.
Yeah.
So he's actively blocked because they've had the balance of power. Because Terry Stevens took on the job of president.
Yeah.
It's so shocking to me that Terry did that. That's his 30 pieces of silver, right? He was a Conservative. He chose to get that really big salary, the private dining room and the chauffeured car, over actually blocking a radically left legislative agenda.
Yeah.
And if Terry hadn't done that, then we would be in a different place right now. And so Peter Malinauskas has no scrutiny from the press, no scrutiny in the parliament, and it's really only people like you and me who have dared question, his rule.
And it's even like they said it was a conscious vote, and look how they treated Claire Skiven. Now she's being put on the most unwinnable thing ever. So they're punishing her. They're making an example of her for having a difference of opinion. Yeah. So what does that mean to the Labor Party now? They see that and go, wow, well, we don't want that happening to us.
So my clearest message to people is, for the Christians who are watching this, you cannot be a person of faith and vote Labor. You just cannot do that. Labor and the Greens have to be last.
Yeah.
They are the party of evil, and if you care about your family and the future of this country, you just cannot vote Labor.
Yep.
It's as clear as night follows day that that's the case.
Yep.
So then for me, well, who are the best people to take on Labor? well, if we want a strong Conservative voice in the Legislative Council, it has to be One Nation.
Yeah.
Cory Bernardi has the experience, having been in the federal parliament for a long time. I believe he won't be intimidated by leftists in that parliament, because what you often see, I don't know if how much you watch of the Legislative Council proceedings, that I do feel like some of the Liberal politicians and the Conservatives, they almost get really intimidated by the bullies from Labor. And people like Tammy Franks and Robert Sims and Kaya Ma, they run the place.
Yeah, I don't get why.
Emily Burke.
They're such wussies.
Yeah. Like, they're not scary people.
Like, are you guys serious? Who are you scared of?
Yeah.
These guys can't even answer a phone call.
No.
Like, me and Robert Sims have been friends for a long time. Ever since Turning Point, he won't respond to my texts. He won't respond to my phone calls. Like, all right, you're just a wuss, mate.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
Pathetic.
You're just like, okay. Even like Labor people, I've contacted the Labor Party. Let's have a chat. No, they're all just...
Oh, they're so intimidated by me, they had to ban me from the parliament.
I know.
It's insane. Like, there was no due process or actual allegations. They were just so afraid. And then when we bought the bill...
How dare you, Joanna? How dare you stand up to these... How dare you be opposition? What?
Yeah, what? And then,
Crazy. Opposition? What?
And then the second year we bought another bill after, because we thought, oh, we're getting banned, who cares? Like, we're going to keep doing this. This is going to keep happening. And then the day after the bill failed, they announced 3 investigations, like one into lobbying, one into me running a gambling racket.
Yeah.
You know, but they do this so that they can plant the hit piece within Daily, who then run, because Belinda Willis, who runs that, is very pro-abortion, has been trying to come after me for years. They've got their journalists, so they make their public announcement. It's never going to go anywhere. Because I actually haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But they get the hit piece in the media and they think that they've then won the day. But I do think with the rise of One Nation, we're seeing ordinary people are saying we're not buying it anymore.
Yeah.
And you're right. You've got hundreds of thousands of followers. My following is really growing. I'm now reaching 25 million accounts a month with views. And so these people must be really scared because
they're fun.
They don't control the narrative anymore. So I'm telling people you have to vote One Nation first in the upper house, in the Legislative Council, because Cory's and his team are the only ones with the experience
and
to take on the left.
To be clear, have you had communications with Cory then, like around these topics?
Of course, yeah.
Good,
so I've spoken to as many people as I can about what their planned agenda is, and I'm confident that a vote for One Nation in the upper house, if they could get that balance of power, 3 to 4 seats. Now, I know that's a big ask, right?
Well,
but if they were able to do it, I think that party, A, would keep Labor in check, and B, we would start to see some of these social issues pushed forward. So abortion, but also the gender issue. I'm genuinely afraid for kids that they are being brainwashed by this radical left agenda that around the world is being defeated, like the Cass Review in the UK. You've got Trump's executive order. Well, you shouldn't need an executive order to state a biological fact, but he has. The Olympic Committee is now making it very clear that we're not going to have boys and girls sport. But yet in Australia, if you go to Shine SA, they're just throwing this stuff at you, government-funded trans ideology aggressively across universities and government-funded organisations like Headspace. You know? And Nikki, I forget her name, Garland, was talking about her school in Renmark where they were literally teaching bestiality to, 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
In the safe sex talk.
Yeah, it's
crazy. So there's a lot at stake here.
Yeah, so Cory Bernardi's comments 14 years ago doesn't seem that far-fetched, do they?
No, it doesn't. This is a slippery slope, right? Like there is a slippery slope and we are living in. And I think that out of all of the Conservative parties, I trust One Nation to do this better than the others. Now, I still think I'm not stupid. I can see that one of the challenges for the minor parties is they don't have the discipline of the major parties. So, for example, Sarah Game was One Nation. She's now left. She started her own party. Like, we've got this fracturing on the right that just keeps happening. I have a lot of time for Sarah. I love Sarah. She was beautiful to work with over the bill last year to save babies after 23 weeks. She was really good. She doesn't allow herself to get bullied, actually, by the left. I found her very strong to work with. There'd be a hit piece that would land and I'd call her and say, "You all right?" She'd be like, "Oh, don't worry about me, Jo. I am fine." Like, she genuinely lives out sticks and stones. But some of the others are wallflowers and she's not that. But yeah, I do think
it's the lack of unity that's the issue.
Yeah, it's the lack of unity.
Because you have all these strong voices, but what's the point of having all these warriors if they can't even get together?
So I guess my hope is that Cory, with his experience, would be able to keep together their parliamentary team.
Yeah.
I would also hope that he has the courage to be able to take on the left and the experience. I've also got to know Pauline Hanson more over the last couple of months at James Ashby, her chief of staff. And I guess I feel like they know they're living at this moment where they could literally become reform in the UK. They could become the third force that becomes way bigger than the Liberals.
Yeah.
The polling already seems to suggest that. They don't have the infrastructure yet or the party mechanisms to really make sure that they can live out this promise, but maybe they will. Like that, I feel like the Liberal Party is fundamentally thwarted by the presence of the moderates, the leftists.
Yeah.
They literally have an inbuilt faction that is radically left.
Yeah.
People like Michelle Lenzik.
Yeah.
And so that party is just unable to function as a Conservative party because of the presence of the left in it.
Yeah.
So we need a third force.
Well, even when I was in state parliament, I made one video with Sarah paying out Michelle Lenzik, with clown music and putting a clown face in there. And Parliament got upset. They pulled me in, told me off. And I was like, all right.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say it, but
They're such snowflakes.
I made one video, and she would have had the biggest hissy fit. She would have, like, I remember I had to go in the elevator the next day, and she just wouldn't even look me in the eyes. I was like, God, you guys are weak, pathetic. Like, honestly, like, I'm glad I'm not in Parliament because I just feel like they would all go home crying. Because, like, if they can't handle that, like, that's nothing. Like, that was like 10% of my true ability. So, these guys.
Well, they've all accused me of, the leftist politicians all accused me of bullying Jing Lee.
I know.
All I did was have a 10-minute conversation in a public place, like this, like sitting on a couch together. And we hugged at the end of it and took a selfie. And then all of a sudden I'm banned for bullying her. And it's like, well, that was the only conversation we had.
I know.
They're so insane.
They're wuss. I don't want to say they're a P word, but they're literally They are literally like the biggest snowflakes. They're just snowflakes.
What's the P word, pathetic?
Oh, pussies.
You can say it. I was like, what?
I don't know. I don't say it, but they're snowflakes. They're wusses, and they need. I mean, Corey. I hope Corey can be that strong masculine figure. We need a strong masculine. We need masculinity back in Parliament.
Yeah, well, I'm cool with that.
You know what I mean?
I think that men.
So we need some toxic masculinity. Come on, let's get some.
Let's bring back the toxic masculinity.
I want to hear the retard word in Parliament. Until someone says the retard, I'm not really happy.
I'm so sick of people trying to, at International Men's Day dinner that Sarah organised last year, we went to that and Peter Malinowskis gave the speech.
Yeah. Well, can I tell you a funny story before you continue?
Yeah. Were you there at that?
No, I was supposed to be involved. So right before the Premier was supposed to speak, I was supposed to do a video that was going to come up right before he spoke, talking about strong men and courage and like Alexander the Great. I was going to do this like big thing, and then we're going to like lead the Premier on after like we're going to set up like a little bit of a, but it never happened, unfortunately. But I really wish that happened because that would have been amazing. Imagine like me just being like, we need strong men. We need to say the P word and the R word. And then
because his speech made me.
Was it vomit?
I wanted to barf.
Was it really that bad?
It was that bad. So he went on about Andrew Tate and toxic masculinity. You don't. And like the manosphere and all of that. And I guess the thing is, like, Andrew Tate is gross.
Yeah.
Like he's literally into brothels and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But strong men like that, they're not like Andrew Tate and strong men. They're not the same thing. Like
look. Okay, let's just talk about Andrew Tate for 2 seconds. Okay. All right, Andrew Tate was good for the reason of making boys feel like they can be boys again. Mm-hmm. Regardless, I feel like on a spiritual sense, Andrew Tate is lost. It's
really gross. All the
stuff regardless, even if whatever's true, I don't even want to talk about that, right? I'm just saying on a spiritual level, Andrew Tate is lost. He's going down this Islamic thing. I don't know what he's doing, right? He's confused.
But he's as lost. I would say Peter Malinowskis is lost. Like he's someone that has literally sold his soul for power. At the end of his life, how's he going to feel? I reckon Peter might have been a good person before he went into politics.
Apparently he wasn't. I've talked to people who
have talked to people who
went to school. Apparently he's never been a good person. Apparently he was a bully at school. He was a jock. Apparently he wasn't even that smart. He was a bit stupid.
So I talked to people from the early union days who said, yes, he was a bully and he was always about power.
Yeah.
But I just have to believe that a lot of these people, when they go in, they have a desire to do something good and then they become really corrupt.
I think he's just always been a piece of shit, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, anyway, he's just as lost as Andrew Tate. I guess my point is, I like Jordan Peterson, for example. I think he helped young men go, this is what it looks like, and I feel like to be strong and to take responsibility over my life. I know he's not perfect. None of these people are perfect.
Yeah. I just think Jordan Peterson's great. Jordan Peterson's great for people like me in my age, but for the young boys who just need to hear some.
But Andrew Tate's not a good example.
No, he isn't though.
No, he is not.
He has to be.
No,
he has to because
I would like Andrew Tate.
I'll tell you why. It's a very nuanced conversation. But until Andrew Tate came along with those TikToks, boys at school were told to shut the fuck up and not say a word. Then after Andrew Tate came along, the boys said, you know what? I'm sick of this woke stuff. I don't want to call this person a they, them. That person's a boy. Yeah. That person's a girl. That's what Andrew Tate did for young boys.
All right, so I can agree that is a good
thing.
That
little bit. But if you distill it down, that little bit, to me...
But someone like Charlie Kirk did that.
Yeah, but Charlie Kirk... And Charlie... I love Charlie Kirk, but Charlie Kirk is a high intellect. To connect with young reptilian boy brains, like little boys are a bit special, right? They're not like... They're crazy. Little boys are crazy. They need something crazy to unlock their little boy.
So I'm going to disagree with you about this. I feel like Andrew Tate is a very bad role model for young men. But I think when Peter Malinauskas gave that speech, I guess Peter's view of what manhood is an emasculated manhood. Like it's one where, like he was giving this speech at the International Men's Day dinner, and he was literally talking about, how there's a gender pay gap. Yeah. And it's like, no. What about the high suicide rates for men? What about the boys growing up without fathers? Like there's so many issues that the pornography epidemic. Like there's
one of 3 women now will by the time they turn 18 will do OnlyFans. Yeah, is the next step. Like so most girls, 1 in 3 girls will be
there's a toxic femininity that's coming from the sex industry, right? But they never talk about that. Yeah, 1 in 4 women will have abortions. Like this is so bad. Yeah. Peter's just like quintessentially woke. Yeah. Right? Even though he did that, he tries to say that's not me. I think woke's gone too far. Yeah. He just is.
I think, just to conclude with the Andrew Tate stuff, I'll just say this. So I don't think Andrew Tate's a good role model, but what I'm saying, he was a necessary evil.
You think he was a catalyst?
He was a catalyst, yeah. He was a necessary, it was like a spirit. If it wasn't Andrew, it's like in Star Wars. It was just like the Force. Like something was going to happen to bring back that boyishness.
But it didn't have to be someone that was into prostitution.
Look, we hope that, but it just didn't turn out that way, unfortunately. But the reality is, sometimes you need some toxic men to do some toxic stuff to help good boys.
So I think that strong men are not like a Cory Bernardi in the Parliament. Yeah. That's not him being strong isn't toxic masculinity, obviously. Like we agree on that.
We agree, but the left won't.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And we heard from Connie. He calling Cory Malaka. How dare you? So the
what
thing
is that? That's a Greek word.
It means wanker.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So
I wish you just said wanker.
Well, she was trying to appeal to her Labour Greeks because the Labour Greeks are a bit special.
Yeah. So the Greek people need to know they can't vote Labour.
Well, the Greek people need to wake up the fuck up. I'm telling you, Greek people, wake the fuck up. Stop voting for people who are anti-Orthodox, who are anti-Greek, who literally hate you. Literally treat you like animals. Stop voting for these people. They literally want to destroy this country and turn it into a cesspool of degeneracy. And you guys are just sitting there voting for them again and again. Wake up.
I feel that about Christians as well. That's just, people need to know that these people aren't in it for our children and the future.
They don't care.
They don't care.
It's purely satanic.
So we have a local member, Katrine Hildyard. She's Labour. She comes to our church. Yeah. And but she only comes to our church around election time. Yeah. And all Christmas and Easter, where she knows there's going to be a big congregation, and you see this, they'll go to 4 masses in one weekend. Yeah. Not because they love God that much, but it's just about they know they're going to hit a lot of people.
And they throw a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And it's
I was doing a speaking event in Western Sydney a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about the fact that you cannot vote Labor if you're a Catholic. And quite a few people came up to me afterwards. They said, I've always voted Labor. I didn't know that. Thank you so much for telling me that. Yeah. But they also said, this person comes to my church a lot. And I was like, well, that's Albanese was going to church during the election period, and yet he's the most atheistic prime minister we've ever had, funded abortion more than any other prime minister. He's clearly not Catholic. He was living with his girlfriend. It's just people are, you cannot just be so stupid. These people take advantage of Catholics and Christians.
We're all sinners. We all make mistakes, but the difference is, right, and no one's perfect. Just for people listening, Catholics, Orthodox, whatever you are, you're going to make mistakes. Of course you are. You're going to sin. But what we're saying is, when you're in a position of power, where people have voted you in because you've mentioned your Orthodox or Catholic ways, but then when you go to vote, you actively choose to go against the values you're supposed to stand for, that's an issue. No one's saying don't make mistakes. People make mistakes all the time. As a Catholic or as an Orthodox...
George, my issue with these people is not that they make mistakes, it's that they're fake. So Peter Malinauskas is fake. He's a fraud. Connie Bernard, she's a fake.
Yeah.
Catherine Hildyard is a fake.
Yeah, they wear it as a costume to win votes and convince the Greek community in South Australia that they are like good Orthodox or good Catholics.
And Tom Kousintonis is, I believe, a faithful man. Like, I think I've not seen anything from him to suggest that.
Well, I'm trying to get him on the show.
No, I know. But he's still a creature, though, of the Labor Party, right?
Oh, yeah, of course they all are.
I think the thing is, even though I feel like Tom is a faithful Catholic. Is he Greek Orthodox?
Not Orthodox,
Catholic?
he's Orthodox.
He's Orthodox.
Yeah.
But he genuinely seems faithful to that.
Church, St.
And
George's,
the first bill that we had, we lost by one vote, but Tom came down from the Legislative Assembly to the Legislative Council. And there were all of, like, Katrine Hildyard, Emily Burke, they were standing over Reggie Martin and over Tung as well, trying to get them to vote the way they wanted to, in a pro-abortion way. Tom was the only person there who was doing it from a different perspective, from a pro-life perspective. He didn't have to do that. He did do that. But I still think you can't vote for the Labor Party because Tom is in it.
Yeah.
You just can't, because the right does not control that party anymore. The left controls the party. So that's like voting for a party that the Greens control.
Well, even hypothetically speaking, even if the entire South Australian Labor Party are right-wing, they still have to take orders from the federal body of script. They have to take orders from the Albanese. So it doesn't matter if they're all right-wing, because at the end of the day, they still follow the lines of the left.
And they're not anyway. The right is a diminishing faction in that party, and all the young people coming through, they're all from the left. So I know that from a lot of people who've talked to me about it. You just can't vote for it. We haven't talked a lot about the Liberals.
Yeah. How's that going?
Yeah, so I guess...
Because obviously, you had a relationship with Ben Hood.
Yeah. I like Ben a lot. I think Ben's he's the top of the ticket for the Liberals, so he'll get back in.
Yeah.
And I think, largely speaking, their upper house ticket is a very good ticket.
Yeah.
But I would still encourage people to put One Nation first and Liberals second.
Yeah.
Because I think that One Nation has greater potential to take on the left and the establishment. Unfortunately, within the Liberal Party, there's that faction, the moderate faction, which is essentially the establishment. They're the left.
Yeah.
So when I introduced a bill with Ben Hood, he had to share that bill with the party a week before it was announced, the Friday before it was announced. Now, we knew that was going to be a risk, that it might get leaked, because there were people in his party that just would be out to kill him for introducing that bill. And sure enough, it did get leaked.
Yeah.
Because the left from that party would rather leak it to Labor, which is what they did. They gave it to Labor and the journalists, and they would rather destroy the Liberal Party than have a pro-life bill passed. And this was a bill that was saving babies after 28 weeks.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So these people are evil.
Yeah.
And that's what they would rather do, people like Michelle Lenzik. So that's why you can't, in my opinion, vote Liberal first in the Legislative Council, because they've still got this issue.
Yeah.
And I have respect for Ashton. I can see she's working really hard.
Yeah, I had her on the show recently.
Do you like her? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think Ashton is great in the sense, like, she's a country woman, right? So she is kind of, I'm not sure if she's fully aware of, like, these global agendas and these, like, serious issues that are happening all across the world that are kind of leaking into Australian politics. So there's an opportunity to kind of help share as much as I can with her around these topics, same with people like you. So I think if she's willing to actually listen and then put action towards the stuff we want to say, there is an opportunity for Liberals to claw back some sort of,
Is that your dogs? I can hear your dogs.
Yeah, they are crazy.
I thought that was a good sign that she came on your show.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely, and she wants to come back and do more. So there is, like, a glimmer of hope there. Yeah, people like Ben Hood, people like, Ashton can... Like, I like Ben because he's, like, it's quite clear that he cares and he's willing to put his life on the line.
Yeah, Ben is courageous.
Yeah.
He, within 6 months of being in the Legislative Council, took on a bill that challenged abortion up to birth.
Yeah.
And that was incredible.
Yeah.
Like, he was really courageous to do that. I like people on their lower house ticket, people like Trent Barnard are really good. They've got some good
principles.
candidates.
They've got principles. Like, that's what people want.
Yeah.
The reason why people aren't voting Liberal anymore, because they don't see the Liberal Party as a principled party anymore.
Yeah.
So I told that to Ashton. I said, if you want to rebuild the Liberal Party, you need to get back your principles.
Yeah.
They might not be the most popular, they might not be the most centralist point of view, but at the end of the day, Australian voters, they respect courage.
Look, they have to be conservative.
Yeah.
If they're not conservative, they're just Labor. And then you don't want to vote for that.
Yeah, you don't vote Labor.
There has to be a difference.
Yeah.
So they have to have conservative values.
But you know what the issue is? So the Liberal Party was built by Robert Menzies, right? He brought together the coalition of all the right-wing conservative parties.
Yeah.
The issue was, in the 40s and 50s and 60s, right, conservatism was the norm in Australia. Like most of the population was Christian. And so that system worked, that voting system, that community activated system, the membership. It allowed the Liberal Party to have conservative voices do the right thing. Flash forward to now, that same system exists, but in a different environment. Now we have an environment of woke, moderate, weak people who get drawn in by global agendas.
Well, it was the Liberal Party that introduced the Safety Commissioner.
Yeah.
And the Misinfo-Disinfo Bill federally, that was introduced under the Morrison government, and then it was Labor that took that forward.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's social media ban, both sides of Parliament supported. Hate speech laws, both sides of Parliament supported. So we have a real issue that there's no opposition.
Yeah, and I've even I've talked to like the Zionist community. I said, guys, the anti-Semitism bill might be like a short-term fix, but long-term, it's gonna, like young men, when they see a 31-year-old father get arrested and put to jail for a year for anti-Semitism, but then we go to the other protests and we see people burning the Australian flag. We see people saying, banish Australia. We see people saying, I hope there's a white genocide. We see Grace Tame saying, globalise the Antifada. None of them went to jail. So you put jail the Anglo-Saxon Christian, we put the cross on, you put him to jail for a year, but then all these other guys, these guys who are like pro-Islam, global Antifada, Grace Tames, they don't go to jail, they have no consequences.
It's never going to be used against the left.
But that's my problem. So how are we supposed to trust, so that it feeds into the conspiracy around anti-Semitism? Is actually, I say to the Zionists, guys, if you want to fix anti-Semitism, you need to show the same laws for both sides.
Yeah.
If you're going to put these laws in, you can't punish the white Anglo guy and then let the other crazies on the left do whatever they want.
George, we shouldn't have laws regulating speech.
Oh, yeah,
like,
of course.
Incitement of violence we can have laws, and we already do.
Yeah, you can't go around yelling there's a fire in a cinema or something like that. Or
but we shouldn't have laws regulating speech.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
People want to criticize the Jewish people, they should be allowed to. People like me want to criticize Islam as an inherently violent and dangerous and oppressive political ideology. I should be able to do that.
Yeah, if I want to criticize Connie, the fake Orthodox Christian, I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
You're going to put me in jail for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Christians criticize Christians all the time.
Yeah.
As
a university academic, I should be able to research these things, talk about these things without the threat of being sacked every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Freedom of speech is fundamental to democracy. Yeah. It's not fundamental to an Islamic worldview, right? Like that's not what you're getting in Afghanistan or
Sharia law. Yeah.
But it is fundamental to Australia.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be the UK where there's provinces where Sharia law is used to regulate disputes. Like that's not the Western democratic system that we developed over many years and that the diggers like shed their lives for.
Yeah.
You know, so it just feels like this is a civilizational moment. And this particular election, Labor is going to win. We're going to have Premier Peter Malinauskas, but at the very least, let's not let Labor control the upper house.
Well, that's the problem. See, like we're living through this, all the political parties, particularly Labor and Liberal, federally at least, they think we want a rules-based society. They want more rules against speech. Like we're not living in the times of laws of Moses. We're not living in Sharia law. We're living in the New Testament. We're living in the Christian enlightenment, the Christ consciousness of this world, where speech and freedom and we're all equal together through one love. Like that is the message of Christ. Yes. And we're missing out on all of that because of these rules-based societies.
Yes. So an example would be the under-16 social media ban. I know a lot of parents who were fooled by the buzz around that as if it was somehow going to protect children. It was never intended to protect children.
No.
It was intended to create a pathway to regulating social media.
Yeah.
Because they know that social media is the place which allows alternative narratives
like
to
people like you and me to subscribe. Yeah.
Like Trump won partly because Elon Musk bought X.
Yeah.
You know, reform is winning because of social media.
Twitter and all that,
yeah. And so...
Well, France tried to... Do you see what France did? France literally raided the X offices and they're trying to ban it all across Europe now. So... The farmers who are having massive protests in France, the only reason they can have protests is because they have social media to voice their voices. Yeah. The people of Iran, who 50,000 of them were slaughtered recently, were able to have these massive protests because of social media. We're missing, and we're going to lose all of that because of these laws.
Yeah. Now, I have 5 kids under the age of 15. None of them have social media accounts or have access to social media. you know, obviously I do quite a lot of work on social media, so does my husband. He has a big account. He has more followers than me. Yeah. But, you know,
sorry, we could change
it's a source of contention.
Coming for you, mate.
Yeah. I tell him that if we add up the followers across all my 5 platforms, I actually have more.
Yeah.
But he, you know what he says? He goes, "Oh, that's just double up." Yeah. It's like he's a troll. He suddenly becomes a troll at that point. And
you just start making videos about you soon.
So anyway,
why?
Yeah. So it's a source of contention.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this we can be active on social media and still protect our children.
Of course.
Because we're just a good parents. I don't want to big note ourselves, but we just have rules around we're your parents. It's our job to keep you safe. We don't want to give you phones with internet. Like why, you know, parents are so afraid of pedophiles, right?
Yeah.
But yet they'll give their child a phone with access to all of the world's pedophiles at
it comes down to parenting, doesn't it?
It does. It's not the job of government, it's the job of parents.
If you don't want your kids on social media, fine, but the parents should enforce that, not the government,
because the government used it as a Trojan horse to regulate social media because they want to control yours and my speech online. And
it's a two-edged sword with that.
Talk to my kids and, you know, the ones in high school and said, are your friends still on social media? And they said 100%.
Yeah, of course.
Has zero effect.
Yeah, because governments are incompetent. Yeah. Even if they do bring in all these hate speech laws, that's what I'm saying. Going to my problem. I had the problem with that this 31-year-old father who's arrested for a year, and then all these other lefties can get away with saying whatever they want. Way worse stuff, by the way, but they don't go to jail. I think that's ridiculous, and it goes to show the flaws in freedom of speech, censorship. You can't do it because it doesn't turn into a true endeavor. It becomes a politicized weapon to shut down opponents. Ridiculous. But anyways, I kind of want to go into, you know, we talked about One Nation, the issues of the Liberals, the Premier being a fake Catholic, lol. Sorry, Premier, but you've been exposed, mate.
Yeah, 100%.
That'll be the title, Premier exposed, fake Catholic. And then you got the Connies of this world who are causing these problems. Do you feel optimistic about the future? Do you think, people like you and I and the others out there who are trying to fight, do you think we have a potential pathway to, you know, restore true conservatism, true Christian values in this country, or do you think we're just kind of coping right now?
No, I feel optimistic.
Okay.
So,
what in the community, or what have you seen that's allowed that?
I guess I just feel like there's this growing movement.
Yeah.
That people are really waking up. That, you know, I was talking to this young man the other day, and he was saying all of his school friends are voting for One Nation. This will be their first election where they can vote, and they're voting for One Nation.
Yeah.
Now, the mainstream media tells you that One Nation are bigots, they're racist, they're homophobes, they're sexist, misogynists, you know, and yet here are not just young men, but young women. I was catching up with a friend just before I saw you, and she said to me she's voting for One Nation for the first time. She told her friend that. Her friend said, "Oh, you can't vote One Nation, they're just like Trump." But she is voting One Nation. People, despite the hit jobs from the mainstream media, and they're really going after Pauline hard now. I don't know if you've noticed, but they're really, even in the conservative press, like The Australian, they're really going after Pauline.
Yeah.
From where's the money coming from to, you know, the candidates, all of it, right?
Yeah.
And yet I think people just respect the fact that she keeps fighting. Like she said to me on the phone, I don't want to be doing this. I'm in my 70s, Joanna. She sort of said, you know, younger people need to just step up.
Yeah.
The future of the country's at stake. But she said to me, I'm doing it because I know that I have to. I have to get the party into the state where it could be.
It's like the final countdown for her.
Yeah. So she's doing it, and I really respect that. And you're doing it, and I'm doing it, right? As in, I didn't want to commit career suicide and potentially lose my house and have
we put our lives on the line.
Yeah, the amount of crazies that have sent us death threats and then rape threats, naming my daughters.
I posted a video the other day of me dancing on Parliament. It's an AI video, and someone said, "I hope both your ankles break."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's that's I'm sure you get that every day as well.
Even with the miscarriage, right? I'm shocked that some of these trolls, right, who.
Are they paying you out? Are they saying stuff? Really?
Yeah. These people are really sick.
They are sick in the head.
And so there's all these twisted people, but we've chosen to do it. Pauline's chosen to do that.
To be honest, I love these. The weird thing is I actually love these people. I actually want to help these people. And I was having a debate with one of them, "Oh, you're spreading hate." It's like, no, I'm just saying things that you don't want to hear because I love you. And you need someone to tell you this stuff. You might hate me, but I love you. And they can't compute with that. What? Yeah. You love me? Yeah, I love you. Why do you think I'm trying so hard? I'm trying to protect you. If I have to be the villain for you, the tough love person for you, fine, fair be it. But deep down at my core, at my fundamental level, on a spiritual level, I'm actually in full love of you. I'm doing this to help you. And if people say, "Oh, you're a narcissist." That's narcissistic tendencies. Okay, sure, whatever. Say that as you like, but in my heart of hearts, I'm not hurting anyone. I'm doing the most workable solutions I can. I'm not saying go out there and kill people. I'm not saying go hurt people. I'm just saying maybe have a critical thought about what this actually means long term.
Yep.
So I'm sure that maybe, you probably feel the same way. You actually love these people, really.
Yeah.
Do you hate anyone?
No, and I feel like they're so lost.
Yeah.
My optimism...
Even when I see them, just sorry to interrupt, but even then at your protests, right, at your rallies, they come and you guys are just so full of love. Like even Erin, like she's there, like she's trying to like talk to them and show them love and compassion, and they're screaming in your face, saying the most horrible things. And you guys are still showing love to them. Yeah. Like I've seen it firsthand, the amount of love you have for these people. So.
Yeah. So I have optimism because I feel like our side is the side of truth. I feel like our movement is growing. I feel like the word's getting out. The only response that the left has is censorship because they have to just stop us getting the word out. But I sort of feel like you can't put this genie back in the bottle. Yeah. I think that Trump's made it clear that they're going to revoke visas of government officials that are pro-censorship. He's done that for some of the European people. So there's a real risk now for leaders to be pushing censorship. So I think that the tide is turning on these issues. Yeah. But I also feel like ordinary people, Christians particularly, need to learn to be activists. So with our rallies, I still have people saying, oh, I feel a bit scared about going. I'm worried about taking my kids, or, Like, I'm like, are you serious? There are literally babies being injected with poison and you're telling me you've got soccer and you've got a big day.
It's like, leave soccer out of this, all right? Soccer's life.
Yeah, but this is not like the World Cup, George. This is like their kids' soccer game on a Tuesday night or something.
It's a big deal.
No, it's not. My kids are really into sport. You know that. Like some of us want to be Olympians, but they still know the order, the hierarchy,
of course. Sorry, I'm really into my soccer.
Okay. I should have chosen a different sport. But irrespective, right? We have to fight for these babies. We have to fight for our children. Yeah. This is what this election is about, but it's also about what our lives are about. So my husband and I, when we decided to go into this work, we made a really concrete choice. We could lose the house. Like we could get killed for this,
on the line,
but we're going to do it because if we don't, then what future are we leaving our children?
Principle-based policy. Like you're a principle-based person. People can get around someone like you. And that, to be funny enough, that's what the left do so well. Like they might have demonic ideas, but they're willing to put their lives on the line for these demonic ideas. I think it's because they're possessed by some evil entity. But regardless, at least they have conviction. And the right needs some of that conviction. The Conservatives need to get some more of that conviction. Stop pandering to the moderates. Stop pandering to the centre. If you want to win the centre, be a Joanna. Be someone that's like, that you can be proud to, like Braveheart. Like you be proud to go around. He might have pissed a lot of people off. He might not have the centre, but eventually he becomes a hero. We need heroes. We need people who are willing to put their life on the lines. And that's why Charlie Kirk's legacy is so important because even after I strongly believe Charlie was moving towards Catholicism. He was moving towards a more ancient form of Christianity. And that's why, I feel like evil entities took him out because he was moving that way. And it's just so sad to see because I think he would have been the most powerful Christian leader we've ever seen in human history, maybe. Yeah.
No, I think he was really inspiring. I actually didn't follow him closely prior to him dying, but like everybody else, I just binged on his videos after that. And so I was following him before it, but
we all knew
afterwards I became obsessed. It was like, this guy is really, he wasn't the Messiah. He wasn't right about everything, but he was
doing theosis.
Yeah,
he was close to...
He was really good. Like I think that his ability to explain things from a kind of natural law perspective, he would talk about his faith, which I found really interesting. Like he would go to these university campuses and he would make the case against abortion based on the fact that it's just run and kill an innocent human being, and he would use those arguments. But then he would also bring in faith arguments, which was very interesting to me because I typically have approached this issue from a secular perspective because I believe that we're working in a very secular society, and so those are the important arguments to use for people. But Charlie was really interesting. I felt like he was very authentic. And when I don't know what your reaction was, but when it came up...
I watched literally...
What?
Well, I was awake. I wake at 4 o'clock in the morning because I was taking my cousin to the airport. I mean, the bus stop to take him back to Melbourne. So I was actually awake when it happened. So I got a notification within 10 seconds. I was watching the whole thing happen live. So I saw it in like real time, essentially.
Wow.
And it cooked me because Yeah, I've been watching him since I was a kid, and we're like the same age. We had the same, like, we kind of started social media together 10 years ago. Like, it was like, there was like he was like my brother from another mother from another place, you know? So like, I sometimes when you start social media so young and everyone's telling you it's stupid, why are you bothering doing Instagram? Like, you're an idiot and it's never going to work. I had to fall back on people like Charlie or like others to like reinforce, no, I am doing the right thing. So losing that was big. And even just seeing, even like people like Hassan Piker, who were his enemies, they were upset about it too. It affected everyone. Like, it wasn't. So, yeah, if anything, like, this is going to sound a bit weird, but I felt Charlie's presence. Like, after Turning Point Australia announced that they'll assign me, I could feel Charlie's presence saying, George, your work here is not done. My work here is not done. And I could feel that ancient Christian presence again.
Well, I feel like you become emboldened since Charlie's death.
Yeah.
You're sharing your faith more, and you've also just, you seem to be pumping out more videos, like working harder,
yeah,
which I think is really like great because we need that in the culture.
Yeah, well, because I was always working in Parliament, I was always working in federal, state Parliament or on a minister's office. I couldn't really be like, I could only do it through like a graphic behind the scenes. So now that I don't have that situation where I can be more free. I'm free to be me.
Yeah.
And now I'm committed to that, even regardless of what happens to me financially. I will be financially dependent forever, and I will always fight for the people. And I feel like you've done the same thing. Like, you're willing to put everything on the line. And we're not saying this stuff to be egotistical, by the way. I'm sharing this stuff with you and my audience because I want to make it clear that anyone can do this. Like, no one's special here. Like, you can be your true self and succeed financially, still have a family, still buy a house. If you want to be yourself, you don't have to be your inauthentic self and live your life in misery. Yeah. But at the same time, if you do have to keep your mouth shut at work to pay the bills, and then when you turn 50 or 60 and you feel like you've set yourself up, and then you want to come out and do some crazy cool stuff, all power to you. Like, if you're you feel like kind of like a shadow person and you're ready to unleash yourself, cool. So I've got no issue with both.
So I think there's seasons for things.
Yeah.
You know, like, I was associate professor and I'd always wanted to be professor by 40. I had the 5 kids at that point. We had a big mortgage. But when South Australia legislated abortion up to birth, that was my moment.
That was your like enough's enough?
Damascus moment. I was like, I can't be talking about justice for working people because all of my research had been about migrant worker exploitation.
Yeah.
But I can't be talking about that injustice and not talk about the injustice facing the unborn. I have to be talking about this, and it's happening in my home state.
How did that first look? So this thing got passed. Did it kind of come out of you? Were you in your, like, was it like part of your work at all? Like, was it like a?
No, well,
how did it look like?
I didn't even know it was happening.
Yeah.
I was like blissfully on maternity leave, coming out of that back into the workplace after Tommy was born, and it was during the pandemic. And a friend came over and she said, "Joe, they're legislating abortion up to birth," and I just didn't even know. And then I thought, well, I'll write an opinion piece. So I wrote that for the Advertiser. They actually published it.
Okay.
Then I got asked to write a briefing note by Christopher Bro here, who heads ACL, for the parliamentarians. So I wrote that briefing note. Then I got asked to do a speech on the steps of Parliament. And I said yes. And I did that on the night of the vote. Now, none of this I really wanted to do, but I also felt like, of whom much has been given, even more is expected. You know,
yeah.
I'd gone to Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. I had a PhD. I know how to read legislation. So I felt like if it's not me, then who does? So I did. I said yes to all of those things. But when they voted abortion up to birth and I caught the train home back to where we live, it's quite a long journey. I was crying at about 11 o'clock at night, the whole journey, feeling very moved in my heart of, I have to do something about this. But it was so terrifying, George, because I just knew it was the end of it. I was never going to make professor. The whole career that I'd been like working on was never going to, and I'd worked so hard.
Yeah, damn.
I really worked hard. The crazy thing is though, so the following year, for 6 months, I was posting on socials about abortion because it took me a little while to like answer that call and to do it, to actualize it. But once I did, from July, anyway, within 6 months of doing this, literally, I get promoted to professor. The Labor government appoints me to be one of 3 experts on the migration review. That's like something you get to do when you're 60 or 65. Like, it's not something you get to do before the age of 40.
Yeah.
And I got an Australian Research Council grant to look at undocumented workers. So these 3 big career goals, they happened within 6 months. But then, like since then, I feel like my career is pretty much over in the university sector. Like, it's just...
So you had your Nikolai Petrovsky moment.
Yeah, kind of thing? I did. But I feel really grateful that I got all of those things.
Was watching Nikolai, were you watching?
That was interesting. I felt for him because...
But were you watching that back then? So
yeah,
as a professor, professor to professor, I
was looking at him going up against the orthodoxy on vaccines, the COVID vaccines. He was going up against the orthodoxy and they were coming at him from all sides. He was surrounded.
Did that help for you?
Well, it was frightening.
Yeah, okay.
I was like unable to sleep at night with like fear in my heart of this is coming for me.
Damn,
and I was investigated 6 times within 18 months at the university, and I took them to the Fair Work Commission and won with a stop bullying order, and they backed off for a while. There's some stuff going down now, which I won't talk about, but for a while there, they backed off.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have to be like that, though, because you can literally be in the university sector writing about how pedophilia is just someone who's a minor attracted person.
Yeah.
You can be Peter Singer and talk about how we should be able to kill disabled babies or children up to the age of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the stuff that the leftists write.
Yeah.
They're allowed to do that, but we're on our side and we're saying a boy can't be a girl, or Islam is a radical ideology that, oppresses women, or that a baby in the womb is a human being and they should have human rights. You can't say those things.
Yeah.
You cannot go up against the orthodoxy of the left. They try to cancel you, but if you're in the university system, they just try to annihilate you.
Wow. Yeah, it's disgusting. But I'm glad, because it's weird. South Australia has somehow produced 2 very courageous professors. You know what I mean? That Nikolai started the whole thing back in 2019, 2020. Then you. So I'm proud of South Australia, actually, because we kind of have this pioneering contrarian style professorship, which is, when Adelaide University were going to introduce vaccine mandates, and I actually went to the science faculty and approached the entire science faculty and made them listen to me do a speech. I said to them, guys, the University of Adelaide is known for Sir Douglas Morse and Howard Florey, these contrarian world-leading thought leaders. If you introduce vaccine mandates, you're going to cut off all these contrarian types, like the Joannas of this world. They won't come to the university anymore because you've mandated them out of the university. So they're not going to come, and you're going to lose that edge. And they would actually listen to me, you're right. And then 2 weeks later, they announced they're not going to do the vaccine mandates.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
So, we didn't get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I was booked in because I sort of have to book in as a deadline.
So you would have been there. I would have been there trying to fight for you without you knowing.
You were fighting for me. And I booked in, James and I booked in for the vaccines because we thought we've got to have a deadline on our research.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a scientist friend at work who sent me some papers to read, and she really advised not getting vaccinated. There's another colleague at work who had pericarditis after taking, I think it was Pfizer.
Are they public about it? Or
no, they're not public about it.
That's still good to know.
But that, I bumped into that colleague and they told me that they'd been in hospital.
Yeah.
And so it was so there was some big things. And then as the appointment approached, I read all the papers that were around, and there wasn't much we could read. But I just didn't feel like the research was there to prove that they were safe and effective.
Yeah.
There was no longitudinal data. These were experimental vaccines. There was such a push to tell us that they were safe and effective.
Yeah.
And I guess that also made me suspicious, And
well, there was just a hearing in the US. It got announced this week that showed, I can get the data up. I'll maybe put on the screen here. That shows that vaccinated versus unvaccinated kids, the rates of autoimmune diseases goes up tremendously. And this is the US government, by the way, not just some
No.
Anyways, I don't want to be sitting here as the crazy anti-vaxxer, but I'm just saying there's some data coming up that's pretty important that we should all look at as scientists. We should all look at this stuff as common sense people.
I think the COVID vaccines, there was just not sufficient data to suggest that they were effective. And so I think that's a very credible position to take.
Yeah.
Now especially, but even when we were booked in and we were looking at it all, there just wasn't enough to say go and take that vaccine. So we didn't, and we didn't get the kids vaccinated as a result. But I was grateful the university didn't have mandates.
Yeah, no, they did. I'm very grateful.
So many. It's honestly just such a travesty that so many people lost their jobs.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
So many good people lost their jobs because of that government overreach. And I just still feel like the Australian people have not woken up enough to that. You know?
Well, that's the downfall of everything. We're seeing it now. I think they are waking up, and that's why One Nation...
They're starting to.
Yeah, I think ultimately the reason one Liberals failed is because during the pandemic, they didn't stand up for human rights. They didn't stand up for that thing. And that was the end of the Liberal Party.
Well, and even now on hate speech laws or immigration, they'll only come to these issues after One Nation has done the hard work, copped the costs of that. suffered the hit pieces, then they'll come to it. But they're just not brave.
Yeah, we need them to be brave, and that's kind of I still have a glimpse of hope for Ashton and her team. We need like a strong. It'd be nice to see a Liberal Party make a U-turn and say no to the globalists. I said to Ashton, say no to the globalists, say no to the these foreign nation agendas. And say yes to the South Australian people. Put Australia first, put South Australia first, and you'll win back the people.
They can't do that unless they expel all the leftists.
Yeah.
So they would have to have some sort of, this is what you are if you sign up to the Liberals.
Yeah, then you update their policies and stuff, the constitution.
Michelle Lindsay just couldn't be in the party. No, they need to expel the leftists, like Susan Ley, all those people. They need to be out of the party. Jane Hume.
Go be the Labor Party.
Yeah.
Like, so, Michelle, if you're listening, go join the Labor Party. They want you. I've heard they really want you. Sorry. Yeah. But, yeah. Down that thing's overheating. Anyways.
Right, let's just look at that camera. Do an outro.
Oh my God. Well, Joanna, is there any last message you want to say before I let you go?
No, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for all the work that you do, George.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for you, and thank you to everyone who's watched the show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here again. And I'd like to shake your hand to everyone. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you everyone. Make sure you follow Dr. Joanna Howe on her Instagram, her Facebook, whatever she's got, her websites. Check it all out. She likes to host rallies, and the rallies are a lot of fun. Last rally was great. We had the Orthodox stuff everywhere. That was amazing, and it was cool. It was like almost like this. It was very heavenly and divine. So if you're into all that, make sure you check out all her fantastic work online. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. See you guys.
Thanks, George.